Taher.
Man, that music was hype. I was like,
Yeah, right. I'm out here like, oh, I forgot we were doing a webinar. What's up, LinkedIn? Hello. We're going to give people just a few minutes to start trickling in. We should be live on LinkedIn right now. We're live on YouTube. We've got a couple of different channels up and running. We should have some folks joining as well. As check this LinkedIn. Yeah, we're live. Okay, some people are beginning to trickle in. Great to see you guys. So welcome to Life After ScaleCon. Listen, this is not a whole lot of fluff on this event. We don't have a lot of pageantry. We don't have a sponsor with giveaways. We don't have any pitches, right, Taher? We're like,
yeah,
let's just make this as helpful as we possibly can. So we kept it real simple. Let's see. We got Jeff. What's up, Jeff? Great to have you.
Jeff. Oh, Jeff. I love Jeff.
The man, the myth. It was great to meet Jeff in person at ScaleCon. We had met online some years ago. Nice. Okay, guys, we're just letting a couple more bodies kind of fill the room before we get into the real hype of it. But we've got 8 or I think including you and I, we've got 10 people.
Nice. That's like at least a quarter of the speakers or 30% or something. All right. Yeah. We got people, more comments. Tony.
All right.
Vlad.
Tony, look at this. Vlad was my 4th customer ever.
Nice.
Vlad, great to see you. No problem.
Jim's got some legendary photos from ScaleCon that he's been sending, including the big one with everybody in it. That was Jim that took that photo.
Thanks, Jim. Great to have you, Jim. Okay, guys, we'll let people keep trickling. Come on in. Here's what we're going to do. If you're here and you're like, look, I'm here for business, I actually have some specific questions. It is not too early. Will you please send in those questions? You guys saw the roster. Who do we have? We have Kevin Clune. We have Scotty. We've got Hunter Farlow. We've got Zamir is in the building. Nate Friedman should be here. Who am I forgetting? Scotty. More people. Sorry if I'm forgetting you. Mike Harrington. Man, we should have got Mike up here.
Yeah. I mean, he was technically a speaker.
Yeah, Mike, it's great to see you.
Philip. What's up, Philip? Joanne.
Perfectly. I see Nate in the chat. Hey, Nate, I'd love for you to jump in the green room with us. Check that group chat that I sent you.
Nate's going to do his presentation by chat only.
He's going to, chat it in. All right. Philip, great to have you. Alan from across the pond.
Alan.
Hey, man.
Hey, Alan.
All right. Here's this magical moment where you're like, how hard do I vamp right now while we're buying time? But Taher, let me ask you, how has Life After ScaleCon been for you? Because that was a pretty big endeavor for you guys.
Yeah, I've learned more this year as a business owner than I have in the 7 years preceding starting MSP Camp. And I think one of the things I've learned, especially through all this, is you have to pressure test your team. And this really put the pressure on the team. Because if you can't, we don't want to be comfortable as leaders. We don't want our employees to be too comfortable. We want to challenge them to be their best selves. And, I'm just super grateful that I feel like the whole team really showed up for that. So that was cool. And then afterwards, what we were expecting is to come back and chill because we just did this big thing. And it's been the exact opposite. We're now working harder because we got people, that were on stage, absolutely killed it. Our members are now asking, hey, we need more of this. And so now we're building more courses. We're reaching out to people to build courses for us. We're building more campaigns around the things that were talked about. So we're actually, unfortunately, but fortunately, we're doubling down on kind of what was taught at ScaleCon and how to take it to the next level. So that's basically been it for us. We thought we were going to be able to come back and chill. It has been the exact opposite.
So. Well, you did, honestly, and I don't want to embarrass you, but I'll say you guys did such a great job. And everybody in the chat, you should throw some flowers Taher's way. I know we gave him plenty at the event because it's such a great job that everybody's already talking so matter of fact about ScaleCon 25.
Oh man, I love that.
There's no little exclusive peaks, or we can't get an exclusive out of you today about any information about ScaleCon 25 by chance, right?
Totally, 100%. Yeah, I think Nigel and I are both open books. So yeah, we can share as much as you guys want to know. And the other thing is like, bro, your presentation, absolutely one of my favorites. I mean, you went up there, you're so personable. I mean, I don't need to blow up your head anymore. You know, you're awesome, but you know, you just kidding. You did a
Thanks,
great
man.
job, and it was like, man, this is so many people were like, oh, I really liked Brian's presentation. So that
Oh,
was cool,
cool.
man. I appreciate you showing up and just coming in with bangers.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it was fun.
I appreciate it. Let's see. I still want an irrelevant celebrity speaker. So
that was
you
such
want
a great.
what do you want Flava Flav to come through and just motivate everybody?
Shaq as a DJ.
Right. Very nice.
That was
Hey,
the
Mike. Great to see you. Okay, listen, guys, we're about to get started. I don't have any questions in the chat yet. So here's what we're going to do. We're about to bring up a couple of legends. We're going to bring Kevin Clune. I've got Mr. Colin Knox in the building as well. I want questions right now in the chat. We're on a little bit of a delay. So throw your questions. If you've got questions for Kevin or Colin, put them in the chat right now. Best question wins a free car. No, you win nothing. We're not sponsored. We're going to bring these guys up right now. Actually, I got plenty of questions for them. I'm sure you do too, right, Tahir? So,
Oh, yeah.
Let's get these guys in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
We're out here living the dream. We have a bunch of people joining in the chat right now. So, and we're on like a 10 to 30-second delay. So I'm sure questions are going to start piling in. But real quick, let's start with you, Colin. Give me the 30, 60-second recap of sort of where you were at on ScaleCon, kind of what you covered, just to refresh people's minds a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of came in to just talk a story about overcoming adversity, growing the business, you know, kind of making and paving your own way, and some of the things that it takes to build a business of meritable value. So that's, I mean, that's my stuff, my history, building several businesses, having a couple very fortuitous exits, and just amassing massive enterprise value over the years. So happy to chat M&A, growth, you know, operational strategies, whatever makes the most sense.
Awesome. And Kevin, question to you now. Talk to us about, refresh the audience what we covered at ScaleCon.
Yeah, so I covered lead magnets. Specifically, I went into the why, the who, the what, and the how. So really trying to explain, you know, a lot of MSPs have had mixed experience with lead magnets. So wanted to remind everybody why we even use them to begin with. What is their purpose? And then how to create things that are actually useful and valuable to the end recipient of them to get them to actually want to engage with them, right? And then obviously we touch on a little bit of what to do after the fact once you've gotten the lead, and you've got it plugged into your CRM and you're enriching your audience and managing your data.
Right. Which actually, there's a great question already here from Nate. Kevin, the first question is to you. Talk to us a little bit. How much deeper can you drill down on this? How would you use the CyberScore lead magnet?
Yeah, so there's a lot of, so if you're not familiar, CyberScore, Mike was from Iceberg Cyber, was actually at the event, but I used his lead magnet as an example, mostly because, and if you're unfamiliar, again, I think it's thecyberscore.com, you can check it out. But the reason I chose that specific example, and I had a lot of examples, but this is one that I really wanted to highlight because it's, number one, it works. Number two, it's accessible to everybody, right? So anybody can sign up for this. It's not expensive, low recurring monthly, and the value you get is insane. You just have this ready to go lead magnet now to use on your site at live events, like if you're at conferences, all of this, right? And then third, it's just like a really great execution. If I was just sitting there trying to draw up a strategy to create a lead magnet, I might now eventually go down this path of something that is useful. It does sort of change the behavior of the prospect as they're engaging with it. And it accomplishes the goal, which is to get them to opt in to the audience, right? So ways that I would use it, number one, on relevant content on your website. So if you have any specific, let's say service level pages that are relevant to any type of cybersecurity, put them on there. If you have industry pages that are areas that are of a focus, so for example, if you target CPAs, that is the perfect lead magnet to put on your accounting industry page on your website. and then reframe it to that audience, right? So the call to action has to be reframed to that audience.
Right.
Any blog articles that you have, again, this is put them right in the middle of the blog article as a call to action and tie it to the content that you have sort of in that article. So those are 3 ways right there that you could take that lead magnet, plug it into your site on very strategic locations, tweak the call to action so that it maps to the content, and then you're good to go.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Super good. I was, Colin, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to prompt everybody real quick again. If you've got questions for anybody on screen or any speakers, go ahead and throw them in the chat. But if you don't, I want every single person who's on this stream right now, you're about to make a comment. It's either going to be a question that you want addressed, or I want you to answer this question for me. What have you done since getting back from scalecon? What have you done since getting back? If it's nothing, that's fine, but you need to write that. Everybody on this stream, let's all make a covenant together. Just give a comment right now in the chat so we can all talk a little bit about that. But Colin, I talked to several people at Hell's Kitchen about your presentation. What were some of the questions and comments that you were getting from people? Even, I'm sure you had a lot of people swarming you even right after your presentation.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you give a presentation like that with a huge air of humility, I guess, and transparency or vulnerability. So, I mean, lots of people come up and talk about some of their stories and how they relate to it and stuff. I think, a lot of people, it comes down to everybody's got these mental barriers of, the fear of what's going to happen or the worst possible outcome or what might be. And I think, that's generally the top thing that holds any of these entrepreneurs and MSPs and everybody back from finding success. And that's generally what the questions are that come back, right? How did you get beyond that? How did you overcome the fear of what could be, or did you just ignore it? Or how can I, get past this concept that something needs to be perfect, or, what if it fails, and all of those types of questions. So that's generally the most common thing that comes up. And then the next is like, what the F are you doing here? Like, just, why are you not relaxing on a beach somewhere nonstop at this point? And, yeah.
That's awesome. Can I have a follow-up question for Colin? Just because it's something I've been thinking a lot, because you have a very unique background and obviously what you've done. So we've got a mix of individuals at MSP Camp, from the owner to the marketing to the salespeople. And it's like, you've done something that very few people have done, which is run growth teams for a large organization. We're just trying to get our first BDR, first SDR, but you've had to manage big teams with marketing, sales, account management, and you are also the vision and the operator of the company as the CEO. So how much of your job involved dealing directly with the growth side versus ops and admin and everything else? And then how much of your vision is what drove that team, even though they're the professionals in marketing and sales and everything else? You're still the one with the vision for the organization. So 2 parts, what percentage of your time? And then the other part is how much of what they were doing was based on your immediate direction?
Yeah, good question. So I think generally you find, CEOs or top level operators are one of 2 styles, right? They're either, especially in the tech industry, so they're either a very tech focused, technology R&D type operator and leader, and that's what they do, and that's where their passion is, and everything else. Or you have the growth focused, sales and marketing focused leader. As you get bigger companies, you have the finance focused leaders, right? I think what's been interesting for me is I'm a heavy technologist at heart and love technology, and have done a lot of tech over my time. But I'd say for me now, I've moved to focusing in on, I can come up with and see a vision for innovation and problems to solve and ways to solve them. I cannot and do not build those things to solve those problems. I can have, so I lean now more to the, sales and marketing and growth focused operator, where I build a team of people that can go out and build the technology in the right way and scalable fashion that delivers the solution and has the outcome and end result that I'm looking to achieve from that direction, right? I'd say, I set the tone from the top on the culture of the organization, and that starts to talk a lot through what the brand feel of the company will be. I have been a long time subscriber to, Steve Jobs's, toned down version of fake it till you make it, right? Perception is reality for a lot of companies, and, not to stomp on anybody on the stream or anything else, but the reality is you go out and look at a lot of MSP websites these days, and I still frequent them for companies that sign up, and man, they don't look and have that perception of a company that I would want to hire and pay thousands of dollars a month to service, right? So now for me, it's the same thing. Whether we're $1 million revenue, 10, $100 million, or $1 billion, it's you need to look and fit and feel like the type of company that warrants and garners equivalent levels of investment. So yeah, I mean, I will drive a lot of the vision. I mean, we're very mind mapping, brainstorming organization, and use the feedback and ideas of everybody. We've got, Kevin talked about lead magnets. We've dropped 3 lead magnets since the event, actually, as an organization.
Yes,
We've built and dropped 3.
Particularly.
And those are working phenomenally for us. Actually, we dropped one today. If you check my LinkedIn post, wink, wink. But yeah, I mean, not all the ideas come from me. I think I keep a finger on the pulse of what's happening with those types of things, and add maybe a little bit of influence on it. Or if I see or feel or come across something that I think would really work for our space and make a lot of sense, then I'll raise it. And I can envision all day long what something should look like. I am not the artist. I am not the type of person to make that stuff look beautiful. And so I think, at the end of the day, it comes down to understanding what your strengths are and hiring to fill in your weaknesses. I do not subscribe to the fix your weaknesses thing yourself. So
I'm so glad. Hold on. Let me actually, can y'all hear the applause?
yeah, we do.
Okay. All right. Good job. Yeah.
Where's my button?
Oh. Yours is,
Oh no.
No way.
Just kidding. Yours is definitely one of these. Or this. So yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I agree. Like, I've heard some people say like, oh, you need to get really technical. You got to learn the technicals of marketing. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you hire somebody to do that. Like, you don't need, unless that's what you want to specialize in, then totally. You should know how to set up conversion tracking for your Facebook ads, or you can just pay someone $300 so it's set up properly. Like, it's like there's diminishing returns on learning the 20% of marketing that's just too much in the weeds. Like, Kevin is my mentor. He's one of my mentors, right? Like, and he mentors me on shit that I suck at, CRMs, like things like that. Like, he is my mentor, because it's like, I just rather have the smartest person in the room to help me with those aspects that I'm just not the best at. So
well, I think a lot of it comes down to, Dan Martell. You look at him, he just keynoted an event in our space too, but he's a fellow Canadian, so I like the guy anyways. But his book and all of his stuff's all about buy back your time, right? Yeah. When you look at it, if you're a top level person, even in the function, if it's in sales or marketing, or you're the top operator, what is your time worth really to the business and in your life, right? Mm-hmm. Why should I be digging in and figuring out all the ins and outs of SEO and paid digital marketing and paid ads and content creation? No, I know what we need to do. I'm going to hire people that are really good at that, and I'm going to focus on driving what the next product innovation is, what's the next campaign we should be working on, what's all of that, because that's where you're going to drive the most value for you and the value for your business. So absolutely hire that out. We do it as MSPs. We sell that. You shouldn't be trying to figure out how to support your own computers and build your own, stuff with, hooking up M365 and everything else in between. Hire the experts to do that and do what your business pays you to do. I think that it's such a mantra that needs to take hold in this space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that book's cost me a lot of money. But anyway, go ahead, Brian.
I wanted we got a question on, I think, Kevin, I'm sure I would really love to hear what you have to say about this. We got about 60 seconds left, Kevin. Talk to us to Ashton's question here. New user of LinkedIn, how often do I post? What type of content works best? I know this is a big question, but give us some of your quick thoughts.
I actually have a kind of a contrarian view on this, which is I try to post just once a week, but I try to make sure that the post is as valuable as possible and it fits into my goals of what I'm trying to accomplish. It almost always points back to a blog article or something on my website or a lead magnet, etc. And then I pay to distribute that to an audience that I know maps well to that piece of content. And again, that is an audience that I want. So the cost of that is relatively low. Like, you could spend as little as $25 a week doing that. But what you don't have to do then is worry about how many impressions you're generating from sort of meaningless short form content that you're just kind of spewing out there constantly. In order to get that sort of organic reach, you're just focused on, here's a post, it has a call to action, it's pointing to sort of a platform that I own, and now I'm paying to distribute it to an audience that I know is highly relevant to it. And so that's my strategy. It's not really about how often at all. It's just a matter of how many impressions do you want, and are they the right people to see it?
I love it. That's why you're here. I love that answer, Ashton. I hope that was helpful. Listen, guys, thank you both of you, Colin and Kevin, for being here. Love to have it. You guys know where to reach them. Of course, they're already tagged in this event, so you feel free to follow up with these guys. I'm going to yoink you both here. I'm going to yeet you out of the stream real quick, and we're going to bring in the man, the myth, the legend. I think the only speaker across the ocean, I think, is
Paul.
But who's here? Who's here anyway?
Oh, that's here. Yeah.
Mr. Scotty Miller coming to the stage. Unmute yourself, Scotty, and talk to us. Hang on.
Quick announcement. My back still hurts from the ice slip.
Oof.
Just kidding.
Scotty, we have you muted. Can you unmute for us and hear your voice? Here he comes. Mr. United Kingdom.
Apologies about the back. So I was watching back that footage, guys, to hear, and I don't know if you saw at the very end. I pretended to stamp on your head.
Oh, I know.
As opposed to try and help you. So
I know. I was like, there's some deep-seated aggression because we're kind of competitors. I was like, he's trying to kill me. And then you sent me buttered cookies, and I was kind of staring at him for a little bit. I was like, is he still trying to murder me?
I felt so guilty.
That's hilarious.
I was like, Matt, do you want to eat one of these first?
Yeah.
And I'll eat it tomorrow if you're still alive.
Hey, Matt, come eat this. And call me in 20 minutes if you're alive.
Yeah, be my poison test. No, I'm just kidding. It was great.
That's hilarious.
I've just been listening. Kevin just gave away a killer social media attack. I love that. I've written that down already. So I'm taking notes here, guys.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, talk to us. Open up a little bit, Scotty. What were some of the because you got to speak a little bit. People got to hear some of your school of thought. What were some of the main kind of common questions and feedback that you were getting at the event?
So a lot was, you want me to talk about what I was talking about?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry. Give us the recap. Give us the 30, 60 second, and then talk to us about what was the main feedback you were getting.
Yeah, cool. So what I've been seeing when it comes to search engine optimization is becoming harder and harder to game the algorithms in Google and search. And almost every single MSP I know about, they're all trying to go after the same keywords. Okay. So the system that we've got here at IT Rockstars is don't follow the crowd, don't follow the herd. Go after niche, vertical specific keywords and the industries that you specialize in and rank for them. And you can rank for them not only in your local area, you can rank for them on a national or even an international level. I mean, that's what I do with some of the SEO stuff for IT Rockstars, but it opens up such a big opportunity for you being able to do that. So that's, from an SEO perspective, that's how I see there's a huge opportunity there that no one is really tapping into. They're all still thinking in this local market, this local fishbowl, when the world's totally opened up now. I mean, if you think about it, before the pandemic, doing something like this was kind of a very much a one-off, doing business over Teams or Zoom or StreamYard or whatever it might be. But since the pandemic, everyone's using Teams, everyone's using Zoom, and you can use communities like the Tech Tribe, these peer groups, conferences to partner up with local MSPs for that boots on the ground IT support that's required to, when you have to actually go in and turn off a switch and turn it back on, or a server, there's boots on the ground that can do that, but you have an opportunity to specialize in a particular vertical, and you can get all of these keywords for that vertical and rank for them really easy because no one else is going after them. So that's, in a nutshell, what my talk was on. Is like, do not follow the herd, zig when other people are zagging, or zagging when other people are zigging. So
amazing.
So that's and I've been in this game when it comes to SEO for a long time now, since 2007. I'm actually starting to get like gray hair here from it. I cut it really short, and it's cool, but and a lot of MSPs, Colin mentioned this. It's like, you don't actually need to be doing this SEO thing. You can pay someone else to do it. And that's really good advice, because you can go down these rabbit holes of all the tactics. And I love talking about SEO because it's like one of the passions I have. And a lot of MSPs are drawn into SEO because it's like technical in nature. So that's like, but it's a longer term thing when it comes to generating leads, generating business. There's a lot easier ways to generate leads. Some of them we touched upon at scalecon. I love the cold calling, direct mail. Some of that stuff works so well. And the SEO stuff is a longer term game. And that's what I try and get across. It's not just something you can spin up, implement, go and buy one of the books that I've got or whatever, and implement, and you're going to immediately see results. It's a longer term approach to this. So hopefully that covers it. I haven't, babbled on too much, guys.
No, it's great. It's great. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts, but I also, Tahir, I think it would behoove us for us to remember that you didn't just put the whole damn thing on, but you also presented. And talk to us a little, give us the 30, 60 seconds. What did you present on at ScaleCon?
I did 2 presentations, but I think the one I'm more passionate about is creativity sells. And I think it was a great, and I've already talked to Paul about this. I'm not slamming Paul because he's got his own style of things, which I love, but it's just different to mine. It's my whole thing is the content is the most important thing. It is the most important thing. And then other people are like, no, it's all about the process. And I should have used more. I used some examples in the presentation, but that was basically the entire gist of the entire presentation. Yeah. And I just wanted to say, like, okay, like let's assume ScaleCon. Let's assume it was all about the process with ScaleCon. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to post on social media X number of times. I'm going to send emails out X number of times. I'm going to send postcard. My strategy is these are all the tactics of my strategy. Here's the whole process. Cool. I could lay out the whole process, the 4 months leading into ScaleCon. And if I didn't care about the content I filled in that process, I would have been bankrupt today.
Yeah.
So, it drives me crazy when people discount content, because it's like, no. What makes a YouTube channel get popular? What makes someone like Brian get popular? What makes a good SEO article? Like, what is it? It's not the process of posting the thing. It's not the process of this and this and this. It's the content that fills the process. So we spent 10% of our time with ScaleCon on, okay, how are we going to do it? Cool. Figured it out. There's the process. Are we done? No. We got to spend 90% of the time on what is the content that's going to get people's attention and get people to fly across the world to Las Vegas.
Right.
So that was the gist of my presentation. Content is the most important thing.
I love it. And obviously, like, we all know that you need both. Like you have to have a process to get the content in front of the world, but
totally.
I mean, all I would add there is, like, if tactics alone guaranteed success, then every single person would be successful.
Totally.
But how come some of us are posting 5 times a week and getting nothing, and Kevin posts once a week and we all know who he is? Yep. We all read his articles. We're all in his newsletter because he's figured something out. He's figured out something there. I like what Tony's just adding. Process without creativity is dead. Creativity without process is pointless. They're interdependent.
100%.
That's a tattoo right there. Is that we should rewrite that into a haiku and then tattoo it on Tahir somewhere.
Yeah. So now I'm going to eat a moldy banana and get a tattoo. This has been quite the event.
Right. You're welcome. Aren't you glad I'm here? So listen, I guess I'll kick the question. Let me actually kick the question back over to Scotty. Scotty, I'm sure that you had a lot of people coming up to you, sort of scratching their heads with follow-ups of like, wait a minute. So you're saying I shouldn't just try to win the same SEO race as everybody else? I mean, what were some of the common questions that you get, Scotty, to that talk? And what are your kind of responses?
So the main one I get is usually like we've tried SEO in the past, or we're doing SEO, but we're not getting anything from it. So that's the biggest one. So yeah, you can have an amazing website, you can have the coolest lead magnets, and I always look towards almost like, starting part of your process, Brian, is like, well, what's your follow-up sequence if you're going to get people to actually opt in to anything that you're doing on your website or on your social media? Do you actually have a process? So I love to get to that point, because that, when I get to that point, when I'm speaking to someone, I can figure out like sort of maturity level of the business, and if they do have anything there, or if they're just winging it, if they're really just focusing on the marketing. So
Yeah.
that's the biggest one for me, and that's I always bring this up. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but because it's not just about the marketing. It links so much into the sales as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
I don't know what you guys think about that, but it's just having that process of, okay, what are you going to do with that lead once you have it? Do you have
Right.
a process in there? What's happening in your CRM? Okay, you're going to be kicking off automations, things like that. But what else is happening?
Right. You have to contextualize. Like, you can't just fire one of these things, like one little narrow channel. Okay, I'm doing keywords now. Now I'm going to get new customers. No, that's not necessarily true.
Mhm.
You might get more impressions, which could become more conversions, which could become more discoveries, which could become proposals, which could become customers. But I like that. I like that. I'm going to. I don't mean to chastise or paint with a broad brush, but oftentimes what I've observed about sales and marketing, like personalities as a whole, is they'll tend to hyper focus their messaging into saying the little thing that I'm a master of is the one ingredient. This is the only ingredient you need. And once you do this, you'll be amazing. When in reality, anybody who actually knows how to build businesses knows if you don't see it in context, then it's not going to be successful. And I like that about your approach, that you don't just sell this empty bill of goods of like, just here's a list of words, write blogs with these in them, and now you'll get leads. That's not necessarily true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the overall, it's the process, but obviously content is king as well. So you have to have that too.
Right.
The thing that I liked so much about scalecon is, again, it is a lot of the practitioner thing where people like Scotty, people like Stephen Young, people like Hunter Farlow, who we're going to hear from, they aren't doing that many things. I think people think they have to do so many things when it comes to marketing that they end up spreading themselves so thin. Like, as an example, MSP Camp really does 3 things. That's it. We grow with basically 3 things, which is our podcast, SEO, because we rank for a lot of good stuff and it brings leads, and Facebook ads. Everything else are fringe benefits, right? Organic posting on socials, like our email marketing, like all these other things, they add some stuff. But if I had to cut all of that out tomorrow, I would, as long as I don't have to cut my core 3. So I think as MSPs, we can say, okay, we're going to do, whatever our 3 things that we're going to do, we're going to double down on video, we're going to have a cold caller, and we're going to do SEO, right? Like, it doesn't have to be all 12 aspects of a marketing campaign. It'd be like, we're going to really specialize in these things. And I like that, because everyone has seen success with sometimes only having 3, 4, 5 things that they do when it comes to marketing. So, I think we get a little overwhelmed because we see all the shit we could be doing.
Right.
But the reality is sometimes we should, baby step it. Okay, we've nailed this. This is going well. Let's add another baby step in.
And Tahir, I think I'd love for you to even just ratchet that down one more degree for the listener who's going, okay, I've been taking some actions, I'm making some moves. We're right at that spot in the habit building, and that we're like, 28-ish, 30 days out from scalecon. This is a critical moment for building new habits. Somebody's going, I'm not getting results, or this other thing I'm doing is still getting better results, but I feel like I was supposed to be doing this other thing. Somebody who's sort of stuck in that limbo. What's a practical, tactical piece of advice for that person?
Especially early on, success for whatever you're doing may not be leads. That's what we all want. That's what we all need. But we need to understand that no matter what we're doing in the MSP space, it's going to take time. So we need to understand, well, what is success, right? So if we're doing SEO, get in Search Console and see if you're ranking for more stuff and everything's moving up, right? We aren't getting leads yet, but we're saying we're ranking for the right stuff. It's moving in the right direction. If we're doing direct mail and we're adding the calls in, sure, we may not get leads, but we had a lot of good conversations. So I can see if we keep this and we keep adjusting, we're going to get leads out of it. If you're doing social and we're saying, hey, we're gonna try 5, and then we're gonna try 3, we're gonna try tagging people, we're gonna try tagging community. What is happening? Are we getting more engagement on social media? So just understand whatever baby step you're taking right now, don't get discouraged. Understand that there's other success metrics that may not be leads right off the bat, but they will lead to leads. And I encourage everyone to kind of think in that terms, especially when it comes to MSP marketing, because otherwise we're gonna get discouraged super quickly.
Yeah, 100%. Real quick, answer this question from Brian. Do you own your own Facebook ads or does someone run them for you?
I do run my own. I have somebody that does all my technical. They jump in, they get the conversion tracking. So if I make any changes, they make all those changes for me because I don't want to fuck that up. I don't want to screw that up. It's super important. I'm the one that gets to decide what content goes in and how I'm going to put it in. Because again, content is the most important thing. And that's why our Facebook's crushing. Because I'm like, all the technical stuff, again, the process, all that, whatever. I'll have somebody else do that for $400. That's 10% of my time. 90% of the time is like, what content is going to go in those ads? Right. And that's why it's crushing. If I said, oh, it's all about the process, all about the process, like, okay, cool. I would have shitty content. I wouldn't get any leads. So
right.
You know, that's a good example. Thanks for the question, Brian.
No problem. I love it.
Great way to bring in what I said earlier. Thank you, sir.
Scotty, thank you for being here. I'm going to yeet you off the screen. Wave goodbye. Much love to you. Listen, if anybody's struggling, by the way, I know there was a comment that sometimes LinkedIn streams are just kind of a little finicky. If you're stuck, you can go into the details tab on the event, or sorry, it's the about tab, hit see more at the bottom. There is the link to the YouTube stream, which might end up being more stable. If you're stuck, if you're like, oh my God, this is so infuriating, you're welcome to go to YouTube. You can also comment there and we can see your comments coming through just in case. But let's keep the train rolling. We've got 2 more amazing speakers. I'm going to be pulling on Mr. Hunter Farlow and the one and only Nate Friedman. Hey guys, Hunter, we've got you muted. There you go.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Welcome to the party.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Well, listen, both of you, we'll start with you, Nate. Give us the 30 to 60 second. What did you talk about as a reminder? And Hunter, you'll be on deck.
My talk was about how to generate more leads from your website, ethically steal your competitors' clients without an expensive website redesign. I told the story of how I started a traditional marketing agency, which some of you guys may have worked with, like local marketing companies before. Went through a traditional model of charging a lot for a website and then going into some type of ongoing marketing services. What I found out was actually the clients that were generating leads from their websites, after looking at hundreds of them, was that actually there were some more logical, strategic, basic things that we did to those websites that actually got them to generate leads. So of course, like we heard from some of the, I think Colin mentioned earlier, it's got to look good. It's got to look pro. Company's called Tech Pro Marketing, and pro is definitely our mantra. You want to be creative, like Taher's saying, there's a lot of great stuff you got to do, but honestly, there are some things that you can do to help you generate leads and actually win those deals through the website. So those are some of the things I talked about: live chat, instant connect, calling back people right away, appointment funnels, all these types of stuff. Yeah.
And anybody in the chat, remember, you can ask Nate a question right now. He will answer it for you. Put it in the chat if you got one for him. Hunter, in the meantime, I'm going to pass over to you. Give us that quick 30, 60-second recap. What did you cover?
Sure thing. This is so cool, by the way. Such an interesting setup. But
Good.
My session was pretty simple. I mean, the theme kind of went throughout scalecon, and that's consistency and content is key. So I talked about just pretty much one pipeline or an oil well or strategy, which was direct mail and what you can do with that, and creating a repeatable schedule and system that you can do rinse and repeat each week and get results and get leads. So just to
love it.
Like Taher said, doesn't have to be all the strategies, just do one pretty well. And that's what I focused on.
I love it.
And just so people listening, can you explain just how much you guys have grown over the years? Where are you guys at? Where were you all at when you started that direct mail system, and kind of where y'all are at now?
Yeah, about 5 years ago, really 5 years ago is when we pretty much started with the direct mail and really doing it very hard and really marketing in general. And we were about 2.5 million, maybe 3, maybe hit that 3 mark. But now this year we'll cross that 7 million mark this year. So we've been fortunate and had growth. I love those sound
I won't
effects.
overuse that, but that one deserved it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, again, this is a good example of process is important. We're not saying process isn't important. Process is super important because listen to Hunter. He stick to a process. A lot of people think direct mail is for tiny companies looking for tiny companies to support. It's like, no, it's just good when the digital meets the physical. It gets our attention more.
Yeah.
So, you know, just a testament of having the practitioners at scalecon like Hunter. I met Hunter about a year and a half ago when we first launched MSP Camp because I heard somebody had given away a Tesla. And I was like, all right, whoever the hell gave away a Tesla, I need to meet this human. And sure enough, we've been friends ever since. And, you know, he continues to just, you know, be an awesome peer and really good at what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, man.
Awesome.
So you write in the chat if you would like to go from 2.5 to 7 million. And what's been in your roadblock? And maybe you should take this guy out to lunch or something to figure out how he did it. But we got this great question from...
Takes a team.
Of course. Nate, this great question from Aaron. Can you explain templated sites versus fully custom website? And if there's advantage or disadvantage to either? This is a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us.
Yeah, I was about to say, really good question. Thought about it a lot, get that question all the time. And I would say, like, there is definitely a time and place to do a fully custom website. And that is really when you have a very clear understanding of your business, your target market, and you're kind of ready to do like mature marketing. And every detail, you're like, I want them to do this because I know this. My clients always ask me this, so I'm going to answer this here. And you're kind of putting together a puzzle. I'll give like my own example. I launched my website, not with a template, but I did use a template, my Tech Pro Marketing website. It was a framework, a template that one of my mentors gave me, followed StoryBrand. And I launched that. I used that website for 7 years and it did great for me. But then after about 7 years, I was like, I've literally had 400 sales calls with MSPs, worked with hundreds of them. My knowledge of my own business, my team, what the customers want is so in depth now that I'm ready for a custom website. And I know exactly the direction I want to go. And I was the creative director on it. And I was like, we're doing this. Nope, this has to go here. Hey, you have me in this position. I need to switch to this position because it's going to do this. And I was literally like, you know, this psychotic mastermind. I couldn't have done that 5 years earlier. I couldn't have done that 3 years earlier. There would have been no point for me to go and do a custom website. All I would have done is like, I just want it to look different because some other marketing agency has the same layout as me. And the truth is, no, like my clients are not going to both of our websites. My prospects are not going to both of our websites. If you know what I mean, people are not, there's no like person out there being like, oh, this person has this on that website and this person on that. I'm not working with them. Like that's just not happening. That's in your head. So I think like in that sense, there's that answer to it. And I think the deeper sense of it is like, I would say in general for early stage MSPs, a templated website is better, but like what part of my talk was like, make the template unique. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So go invest in a photo shoot, create your own core values and put in what you can into it, because actually templates are better at converting than unique websites, because unique websites, they've never been tested. We've never honed them. We've never optimized. It's the first time throwing it out there. Yeah, there's a chance you're going to get a hit, but there's a chance that your creativity is actually not going to lead to higher conversions. So I would personally like use something proven, give it as much personality as possible to the point that, you know, like people are like, oh, that's not the same template. It actually looks different. And we've got clients on our things where some of them, it's like they look the exact same, but these are guys who have been in business for less than a year. They just don't know yet.
Yeah.
They haven't figured out what to put on their website yet. So that's the best they can do. Then we have clients using the same template. They come in, it's like, whoa, this looks completely different because you know everything to put on the website. So template's better. That's my answer.
Yeah, I love it. I'll just add that like my website's built on Craft CMS, 100% custom. In reality, like looking in hindsight, I should have just, if I would have used a WordPress template, I would have done the exact I would have gotten to the exact same end result. And I probably would have saved a lot of time on all the other little certificate, super secret, whatever bull crap I don't care about or know about. But anyway, I love it. And to your point, I don't want to steal your guys' speaking time, but like the copywriting and the headshots are what people will remember. They won't go, ooh, this also had a block here. And this also had 4 icons. Oh no, I can't tell them apart now. Like even websites are templated. Every website follows the same template because that's how they've all been tested to what is going to convert. So anyway, I love it. I think there's strong arguments either way, but I think you laid that out really well.
The only thing I'll say there that's minorly different, because I agree totally with what Nate's saying. Most people, a template's going to be amazing, perfect, easy to use. It gets it going versus using like a really terrible site that's not good at all. So like 100%. I will say in an environment with a industry that already converts so long on websites, no matter what you do, like it already converts so low, no matter what you do on a website, I do think there's value in having things on the site that are just super different. And again, this is where custom would come in when you already know you are like mature in your marketing, you are ready to budget for custom, and you have something you're like, I just want this on my site. And I do think there's value there because a lot of times we're not converting on the site. Like that's just reality across the board. It's very hard. You're going to get 0.05% or whatever. It's nuts how low it is sometimes, no matter what you do. So it's like, if we can keep in the mind of the prospect when they're on a bunch of MSP sites, and then we hit them up with that retargeting and they leave the site, then we are talking about something powerful here. Like for instance, we have a client, SafeBox. I think it's badass. We built them a site. It's beautiful. And there's one section of the site where as they're scrolling, a cube comes up because it's SafeBox. And like it as they scroll down, it kind of turns and shows the different ICPs that they serve. So they're being informed on who we serve. Plus, it's just badass. It's memorable. They're not going to go to a single site that entire week that has something interactive like that. And so now we've made a big impression on that human who's not going to give me their contact information right now, statistically anyway. And now they see the retargeting ads with a similar type vibe, and they're like, damn, this company knows what they're doing. And that's just an example of when we're ready to go to the next step, content and the content on the site can move the needle, but maybe not while they're actually on the site. So I would say that's my only caveat. Absolutely love your point there, Nate, and loved your presentation. It was amazing at scalecon too.
Thank you. I think along those lines, I think that's just like an idea that people can use is like, think about how you can fit your brand, your visual brand into your design a little bit. I think that is one way to kind of like ease into going custom before you're quite ready for it. Like I think a basic one that I do sometimes, like if they've got a cool logo, I might like take a stock photo of someone drinking a cappuccino and then put their logo in like the foam of the cappuccino. You know what I mean? So I do think finding some cool creative ways, it gives you a level of professionalism and also has some type of, makes you more memorable. So for sure, like try to find those things. It's challenging, but I think like you did a good job with that cube example.
Nice.
Amazing. Hunter, I want to get this from you. Ashton's got a great specific question here. Running ABC color envelope test, 10 of each color to a different vertical. Is that enough of a sample size? Should it be larger? Also, do I handwrite the addresses or print labels? Talk to us here. There's a lot of, that's like 5 questions in one, but talk to us real quick because I got one more quick one to squeeze in after this for you.
Yeah. So first thing, kudos, Ashton, for doing something in testing. That's something that you guys talked about life after ScaleCon, and that's one of the things I'm doing is testing a whole bunch of new things. And so I love that you're doing it, man. Sample size of 10, different color. That's definitely great to start out. So kudos to you for doing that. But as soon as you can ramp that to 15 a week, if your list sustains it, and then go to 20 and then 25, I would do it. Don't exhaust your list too quick. So take a look at that. But if you can get that sample size up consistently, not like shoot to 100 a week and have no one to send it to, but that's what I would do. 10's a great starting point. But as soon as you can grow it, definitely do it. Personally, we print the labels. We've tried handwriting. We've tried the handwriting fonts. We've tried, actually handwriting. For us, found it makes no difference. The different colored envelope actually makes more difference than anything. So you are already on the right track there. So Taher just was blown away by whatever I just said.
There's your nugget right there.
That's an example. So the different, like you're talking about, you gotta have like a green envelope and a blue envelope and a purple envelope.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, he's sending different ones. Yeah,
that's content. So that's what's making that direct mail stand out from all the white shit on their desk.
Oh yeah, we
love it,
man.
man.
Yeah. Love it. Real quick. I just want to squeeze in one more. So I'm sorry you have to give me a faster answer than you probably should, but process on number of mailers and frequency. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. So sweet spot is a new mailer to someone every 3 months. So every 3 months is normal for a contact, and it can even be the very same campaign because they're gonna forget about it, especially if you didn't talk to them. So every 3 months, send a new campaign or a mailer to a prospect, and mail every week on Thursdays, and then call those people that you mailed on the following Tuesday. So 4 business days later, and maybe stretch it to Wednesday, depending on the mail if you're in a holiday. But yeah, that's the system. You very, very, very close.
Love it. So good. Listen, Nate, Hunter, you're both legends. You guys know where to reach these guys. Nate, I just love, I don't know, this is a shameless compliment, but I just have always loved Nate's approach. And I've heard so many good things about what you do. Hunter, people have been singing your praises too, like since ScaleCon. You guys both definitely deserve to be here. I hope you're both at ScaleCon 25. Let's thank Nate and Hunter for being on. Thank you, gentlemen. We're going to yeet you off again. Here we go. We've got 2 more amazing guys here. Different topics, which is going to be cool because I think they're both going to have plenty of things to add to each other. But we have Mr. Zamir Javer from Jump Factor and Brian Hoppy, the other Brian, tied for the most handsome Brian on the call.
The other Brian.
No, I'm the other Brian.
At least we both spell it right, you know.
Yeah, that's right. It isn't one of this Ryan with a B nonsense. And Zamir, great to have you as well. We have you on mute, but I'm sure you could see that. Okay, guys, you know who's on the call. Throw your questions in. Throw your questions in the chat for Brian or Zamir. Let's get him rocking and rolling. We're gonna do 30-second recaps, please, of what you both talked about. We'll start with you, Brian. What was your presentation on?
Yeah. So I'm like the non-sales guy, right? Non-sales, non-marketing. So really focusing on how to build your enterprise value and starting to really see your business as an asset and yourself as the shareholder of that asset, and that your business should ultimately work to achieve your goals as an individual and what you want to achieve in life. And so how do we start to look at what those goals are for the long term? Where do you want to be at a future date? Becoming really crystal clear about that by modeling it out, and then starting to build a vision and planning towards that, planning the strategy that's going to get you there. And then we kind of wrapped up with culture. So I'm like, I could talk about that for a really long time, but I'll keep it to the 30 seconds. So it's So those are some of the key points.
Amazing.
And clearly Brian does know something about sales because he was able to make a presentation at a Growth Center, a marketing and sales conference presentation that wasn't marketing and sales. So you're able to sell me on that. So clearly you know a lot about sales.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's got something figured out. And the guy who's definitely figured out marketing over here is Zamir. Talk to us real quick. 30-second recap on what you covered while people send in their questions for Brian.
Yeah, sure. Great to be here, guys. So 2 presentations we shared at ScaleCon. The first one was about omnipresence and leveraging proofing and authority jacking to make sure that you can generate increased conversions for your business, and also making sure that you have an omni format, omni accessible type of marketing campaign. Today, people are marketing and consuming content in so many different formats and channels. It's hard to decide where you need to spend your time and focus. And often one thing that can happen is can get overwhelming. You can end up spreading yourself too thin. So trying to do too many things and not getting enough traction in any one of them. So we talked about sort of how to identify the core areas based on your local region, and then how to leverage some of the key concept of proofing, how to go narrow and deep, leveraging hyper local and some of the changes that are happening in search today. One of which was splintering of search, kind of leveraging voice search. And then the last piece is just being mindful of, a lot of people today are really focus on video and audio and leveraging those types of formats to consume. They don't necessarily want to read everything.
Yeah, I love it. There's obviously so much information there. Brian, I want to ask you a question. Again, keep the questions coming in the chat, everybody, while we have these guys. This is not often that we get these guys just answering questions for free. So throw some at them. But Brian, you had a BHAG, I think, on your worksheet, right? The big, hairy, audacious goal. For me, that's something I want to talk about all the time, and how sales and marketing can play a role in helping people achieve their big, hairy, audacious goals. But what were some of what was the questions and feedback that you got after your presentation? Because I'm sure some people wanted to know, how do I leverage these ideas to make more money? So what were some of those questions, and what are your sort of typical responses?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it revolves around, okay, so if I know all that stuff, then how do I actually grow, right? And obviously, sales plays a huge part of that. Marketing plays a huge part of growth. But what I find a lot of times is that owners, either they are not dedicating enough time to it, and therefore they're struggling, or they really just like a lot of MSP owners just like to really be involved in operations, right? And so I have so many conversations where it's like, hey, I just have to. I'm sorry to do this, but I have to point out the reason that your company is not growing is you. And so it's like, it's really like, hey, are you willing to commit the time, the energy, the focus to actually growing the business, as opposed to spending time in operations or solving technical issues, because that is really where most MSP owners tend to gravitate to. It's easier, there's less rejection, and all of that. And so how, even just like, can you commit to spending half your time at least in doing, and ideally doing sales? Like, maybe let somebody who's better at it do the marketing, and you get out there and you actually build relationships and sell. And so that's where a lot of the conversations tend to go.
I love it. I love it, man. I wish we had twice as much time for this whole session. But look at this: scale to $1 million in 16 months. Love it. Tony,
you can do
way
it.
to put it on paper.
I love it.
Nice.
I absolutely love it. Zamir, I want to ask you, and Tahir, sorry, I know I'm asking other questions. You just interrupt me when you have one.
I can actually enjoy it and not have to worry.
Zamir, one of the things that comes up a lot with marketing, I feel like, is the misdiagnosing of issues, which might come from people urgently trying to force return on investment quickly, or trying to force a certain result or something. So how would you recommend an MSP actually assesses the success or the status of their marketing or lead gen campaigns without misdiagnosing those issues?
Yeah, great question. So I think there's a couple of few pieces that are important to kind of get your bearings straight first. One is making sure you have a good sense of what should be your cost of acquisition for new revenue. And so if you have an idea of that, we kind of covered that typically in the SaaS world or recurring revenue world, you want to be able to allocate about a maximum of 33% of the lifetime value of your new revenue that's coming in through a managed retainer towards acquisition of that retainer. And so then the question is, okay, well, there's some split towards sales, some split towards marketing. We're seeing best in class. There's about 2/3 towards marketing, 1/3 of that towards sales. Now, when you run a marketing campaign, and let's say you're going through it 6 months, 12 months in, and you're starting to get leads coming in, you're obviously looking at, okay, well, I'm spending X amount per month. Maybe it's $5,000, $10,000 a month across digital channels, and you're getting X amount of leads. So you have your cost per lead. There's a whole variation of that too, in terms of, what is the qualification of a lead and what is your definition. So you want to be mindful that you're comparing apples to apples if you're benchmarking against some peers and so on. We like to look at a bottom of funnel lead, which is very qualified. They've raised their hand, they filled out a form, they made a phone call to you, and those will typically range in $1,000 to several thousands of dollars per hyper qualified lead. And if you can close 1 in 5 of those, 1 in 3 of those, you're in a good spot. You're starting to acquire new revenue at a very good clip, and you can typically double down on that until you start to hit some thresholds. Now, what often sometimes will happen is we'll see campaigns across, we have a bird's eye view across hundreds, over time, thousands of campaigns. And sometimes we notice very similar performing campaigns from a lead generation perspective are being executed. Let's say 10 leads per month, high quality, bottom of funnel. But one of them is closing, a deal a month. The other one is barely closing anything in a quarter. And so when you diagnose backwards, often what will happen is a C-level or a CFO or owner will come in saying, I spent this much money and how much did I get back? Right. And so their question is very simply, what did I put in? What did I get back out? And you want to be able to dig in a little bit further to see, well, hold on a second. How many leads did I get that were qualified? And what was my actual connection rate to them? Like, how many did I actually talk to? If I got 10 leads in a month and I only was able to reach 3 or 4 of them, that's a sales issue, number one. And secondly, if you do get in touch with them, let's say you do get in touch with 8, 9, or 10 of them, ideally, then how many are you converting? And the benchmark in the industry can be, laid out there too, where you should be converting, if they're qualified leads, at least 10, 20% of these, if not more, 25%. And so if that is low, then the issue actually is not a marketing issue. You could be getting all the leads coming in, but there's an SLA issue on the process for sales, and you probably need to really drill into where the ball is being dropped. So that's one example of misdiagnosis, which we see, especially in bigger teams where there's politics and competing interests, that you just, as an owner, want to be mindful of, that you've got the pulse on that second layer of KPIs, not just money in, money out, but okay, what's my cost per lead? How many qualified leads am I getting? And what percentage of those am I closing versus what I should be? Because maybe the issue isn't, marketing. Now, if you have not enough leads coming in to begin with, then it is a marketing issue.
Sure. That was a lot of very valuable information. So you just said best in class, we're seeing a maximum of 33% of your sort of CAC to LTV ratio, right? Like acquisition, meaning customer acquisition costs against the lifetime value of the customer. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, correct. So LTV is, you're going to typically look at the gross margin of the revenue. So let's say you have a $3,300 MRR retainer, over a 5-year period, you're probably looking at about 60 months. That's about a $200,000 revenue total. And assuming you're got at a 50%, 60% margin, there's maybe 100 to 120,000 of margin there for you. You should be willing to spend $30,000 to $40,000 of that to get that deal. And that's what PEs are spending all day long. And if we look at, we really back into the numbers, the top performing MSPs, they're easily spending $30,000 to $40,000 up to $50,000 or more per deal acquired.
Right. And because that's assuming only a 5-year lifetime value. And we all know the average lifetime value is 3 times that industry-wide.
Much longer. Yeah, exactly. So then it's, if you know your numbers, especially in a competitive space and you want to just get a bigger land grab and be competitive, maybe you've got some financial backing and you really want to be aggressive. If you know the numbers and you're like, hey, listen, we keep a client for 8+ years, you can actually afford to spend more than your competitor to acquire them, which becomes your competitive edge, right? Which means you can dominate in paid or SEO or all the channels. Whereas just having arbitrary numbers of I think this is too much, or I think this isn't right, is really gonna be shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
Dan Kennedy's, one of his famous lines is, the person that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. And what he means by that is just don't overspend for customer, but knowing your numbers, you can spend more to get that human or get that client. And most of us don't even know the lifetime value of our customers. And that's why your second presentation at scalecon was one of my favorites in the entire event, because it truly just broke it down. How much is a PE willing to pay for your client today?
Yeah,
it's a shitload of money. It's like, so then we can, if we spend less than that, when we go to sell, we're immediately making that money, so it's like, it's just, I love that. And like me, I know the lifetime value of all of my different members now, right? I never really knew that as well as I should have at Alltech, but now I do, right? Because I'm the one spending the money, right? Yeah. And so like, I'm willing to spend a shitload of money per new member because I know what the lifetime value is. Like if I spend $400 to get a $100 a month client, most people are like, you're crazy. What are you doing? That'd be like spending $12,000 to get a $3,000 MRR Alltech or MSP client. But it's like, yeah, but when I know that that member is going to pay me $2,000 plus over the lifetime of their membership, then why wouldn't I do that? You know, so that is why I like that presentation so much. It really put us into realization of how expensive it can be, but also how valuable it could be. Another quick example, I'm sorry, I don't want to hog up too much time here, but some people will start Facebook ads and they'll invest $200 a month into Facebook ads. Like, Facebook ads doesn't work. It's like, you don't even have a large enough sample size with that kind of budget to even know if it works. Because those MSPs that are willing to spend $1,000, $2,000 a month on Facebook ads, they're getting good, high quality leads from Facebook ads. But who the hell is willing to do that? So few people, right? But it's like, well, that, you know, if we want to get leads fast, well, it takes about $1,500 usually in Facebook ads to get a single lead that's actually qualified. So how quickly are we going to get to $1,500 if we're spending $200 a month?
Right.
You're going to bail before you get to that, before you get the single lead. So anyway, I loved how tactical and how metric oriented Zamir's presentation was. And I'm glad we got a little more of that today.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Brian, you from the ops management high level side, any thoughts, any quick sort of perspective you want to throw at this for an owner who's considering, oh, I might be undervaluing my cost of marketing by 90%. I should be willing to spend more. Or somebody who's maybe feeling a little bit of the stomach jitters from this information. Any perspective for them to throw in before?
No, I think that it's a consistent challenge because as much as you might want to spend $33,000 to get that client, you just might not have the the revenue to do that or the profitability to do that. And so it is a constant challenge. And that was actually a question going through my mind as you guys were talking. It's like, okay, well, if I'm $1 million and I want to get 8 of those clients this year, do I have to spend whatever that is, 150,000 or whatever on marketing? And can I afford to do that? Or how can I afford to do that? And so there is kind of that push and pull of like, you probably should spend as much as you reasonably can to acquire that customer, but there's also that push and pull because you do still want to be profitable, right? And you can't spend all of your margin on marketing because there's going to be a cash flow problem. So it's just another piece of the puzzle to think through. And I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that question as well, because I'm sure it's a challenge for a lot of MSPs.
One of the reasons I'm not profitable.
Right.
Yeah, the spend of the percentage of your top line, I think it varies a lot depending on the size of the MSP. So if you're obviously a very small starting MSP under $1 million or $2 million, that percentage is going to be much higher. We've seen typically in the $2 to $5 million ARR range. If you're really on a growth focus, you want to be pushing around 10% of top line. And if you are much larger, 10, 20 million or more, that percentage can start to come down quite a bit to 6%, 5% or less. However, if you're in that early stage, all rules are out. It's like, how bad do you want to grow? Do you have funding? You might throw 30, 40% of your top line towards marketing. Obviously, I think you can also try to mitigate some of that by doing founder-led sales, and insourcing some of those pieces so that it's not a direct cost.
Yeah, love it. I have tons of thoughts. Luckily, I think we can expand a little bit more on. Maybe one of the questions I'll start with is, but what do I do when I have no money and I need customers? Like I have no more margin. I need customers. That is such a tight spot. I'm excited to get into that a little bit. But any last super, super fast closing thoughts, 10, 15-second closing thoughts, Zamir or Brian? I think we covered it all, huh?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot. So I think we're good.
Yeah, I think just know your numbers, know your acquisition costs. That'll give you a lot of confidence of what you can do.
Love it. Guys, thank you so much for being here. This was really valuable. We're going to eat you both off the stream here. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Zamir. There they go. Tahir, this last section was the time we had dedicated for sales.
Can I interview you now? Is that how can I?
Yeah, I think this is me asking you to interview me.
Oh, perfect. I was going to do it anyways. This is great.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got about 15-ish minutes left, and then anybody who's still on in the stream can come back for any closing thoughts. But if you got in the chat, guys, I love hard curveball questions that try to stump me. Ask me what's going on. What the hell's going on with my sales? Give me something specific. Throw them in the chat if you're still here. But anyway, Tahir, we can start on this topic, or if you've got other stuff, I'll pass them on to you.
No, I did not realize just how valuable this meeting was going to be when you were planning it. And I've had a blast. I've learned again a lot. That's why scalecon, I'm so happy, because it's like we're creating the event we all want to go to. Like, it's super cool. So you tell me, give me the 60-second, recap of what you presented at scalecon.
Yeah, right. I taught on what I call my FUD-free playbook. So the idea is you have to have a standard operating procedure of what happens when the phone rings. And there's this cosmic rule out there that once you're more likely to succeed when something happens, it's more likely to happen to you. You may have heard that expression, fortune favors the prepared. And you need to know what's going to happen when the phone rings before the phone rings. Otherwise, you are practicing on your $1,000 leads. And then I just talked through my discovery call, consultation, pre-close, and presentation call to close at a high percentage.
Love it. Why do you think it connected with so many people?
Well, I think two reasons. First of all, like, I was fortunate in some ways to be one or the speakers who had a contradictory, or I'll say a paradoxical presentation right after me, right? That Jennifer had a totally different approach to doing what I do. And I think I liked that I got to be as specific as I got to be. There's schools of thought for selling. But I think honestly that we've just been sort of sold this bill of goods that, like, the only way to sell cyber is to create a problem, exacerbate the problem, agitate the problem, and then come in and resolve the problem at whatever price we can get them to pay. And the truth is that it doesn't really align with the average temperament of an MSP owner. Like, we don't have high intensity Wolf of Wall Street confrontation happy people out here. So I think just knowing that there's a reliable way outside of that, I think seemed to be a breath of fresh air for some folks. Yeah,
I agree. It was like the first time we chatted, I was like, nice. Like, finally, somebody that's matched my sales like vibe. Like, when I was at Alltech, I never once had to use fear or had to use anything other than just being a consultant and really listening to them and caring for them and making sure I get the right decision for them. So when I met you, I was like, damn, nice. It's because, it's rare, and especially in this industry. So
I appreciate it.
All right. So here we go from Brian to Brian. For an MSP that's only ever gotten referrals, what is the one highest leverage thing they can do to get their next client?
Yeah. Brian, I like this question. The fastest way sometimes to dig a ditch is the shovel. Like, quit trying to do this the best way. Just do it the hard way. That's the answer. Like, the hardest way is the lowest competition because you have the least amount of people willing to do it. So go put your face in front of other people who could buy your product and tell them what you sell. That's the short answer, right? Like, I have this chart that we use in Feel Good where I call my time to cost comparative expenditure chart. So, like, all new customers require time, money, or both. That's the spectrum, right? With time on one side, money on one side. If you're willing to spend more time, you could get away with less money. If you're willing to spend more money, you can invest less time. There is no option that requires no time and no money. So stop acting like a victim because you don't get free customers just because you made a website. Go do something about it. And if you don't have money, then you have to dedicate time. And if you won't dedicate time, then in 2 years, you're going to be calling me in the same situation you're in now when you finally throw your hands up and realize, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. That got serious.
That's so spot on, though. I literally say the same thing. It's like time, money, or both. Like, that's it. Like, you either do the sweat equity because it's like, okay, cool, I get it. Like, when I started Alltech, I had no marketing budget at all. So that's why I focus so much on SEO, because I could write shit all day and post on it. It's fine. Like, I had to put in the sweat equity. Then once we ramped up, I could start investing more while still putting in time. Dude, that's great. All right, let's see here. Tony said, I had a fantastic marketing intern who lasted 3 months because IT did not interest her. How do I filter for that? Ooh, it's a good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm as an intern, I'm assuming maybe this was a early career person. I would say, Tony, that the kind of general rules for all employees apply here, that your job is not to make them passionate about your company. Your job is to show them how your company can give them what they're passionate about. So if she's willing to be a marketing intern, it means she wants to learn marketing. So you figure out how to show her this role is your chance to either get free education or potentially get paid to learn valuable stuff you're going to use for the rest of your life. So like one of the things I do is I'll put a shelf life even on my employees. Because we all know, like your employees, you're not going to work together until you both die, right? Like this is a way station for them in their career, sales, marketing, text, anything. So vision gives pain a purpose. If you can explain to somebody, this is our mission statement, and they've got to feel good about what you want to achieve in the world, but then show them what is your mission statement in your life? And if they don't, nobody usually can answer that. But if we can say, what do you want to achieve in the next few years? What information do you want to learn? And then show them, hey, I'm going to teach you how to sell anything. And the way you're going to learn it is by selling something that bores you. Instead of saying, let's go sell your favorite stuff, she's not going to learn. She's not going to cut her teeth the same way. So if you can show them that this is going to the gym and developing skills that will make her more money forever, that might have been something that could keep her interest a little bit longer.
Nice. I got one from Ted here. When an MSP needs to add to staff due to growth, when should interviews start? Before, during, or after the customer is acquired?
Add staff due to growth, meaning like back end. So like a new customer comes on and we need more support staff, I'm guessing. I mean, Tahir, you probably have some answers too. My idea is like the more detailed you're willing to be, the easier your life will be. Like I would have a hiring roadmap, a tentative hiring roadmap with revenue milestones. So I already know that when I hit the next blank, when I make the next X MRR, I'm going to hire this next person. I already know that number. I already know when I get the next blank number of contracts signed, I'll hire my next success coach. So I think the best way to do this is to kind of do it ahead of time, but also you can write it all in pencil. Like things can change, processes can evolve. Your utilization rate might ebb and flow from your customers. So that's some of, I hope that's helpful. I think the answer is like, you should know the answer to that before you've even gotten that lead. And that's going to make it easier for you to be comfortable making that decision.
Yeah. I mean, just make it easy too. At Alltech, kind of what we did is we knew that every tech could support about 400 endpoints. So like, it was like, oh, we added a client that got us over that 400 endpoint threshold, time to hire. And we would start the interview process. So, I mean, that was kind of our simplified process.
Yeah. And but your business is built around your people. So like half of the employees I have, the job didn't exist when I met them. Michael, my sales guy, created a sales job on my team. I was not going to hire for 3 more months. And he called me and said, hey, I'd love to ask you some advice for somebody who is trying to get into a new sales role. And everybody loves being asked for advice because it strokes my little ego. 3 conversations later, he's my account exec. You know, so I think you hire around people and you build the organization around the resources at your disposal, because you don't always get to pick when the right candidate comes along. So if you've got a great candidate, hire them.
Totally. Yeah, they're usually going to pay for themselves pretty quickly. Like one thing I was trying to pitch to Tom for the longest time is like, we need to hire somebody that's got their like certification in doing structured cabling. I was like, we are losing so much money. Yeah, we can mark it up 30%, but if we did that in-house, we'd be making so much money in structured cabling. But he's like, I know, but it's $5,000 or $6,000 a month. I'm like, I promise you, that's humans going to pay for themselves with one job, you know? Yeah. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that thought. There's a question here that I kind of want to take. It's from Ashton. He said, I'm senior sales, or we could double team it. I don't want to say I'm taking it. I haven't answered this one. I'm a senior sales marketing. What's the best way to divide my time between content creation, posting, etc., and B2B and relationship building?
You got something?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I had to correct somebody the other day because they were spending like 5 hours a day on social media. And I was like, look, just pull it from MSP Camp and post it. Like, don't worry so much. Like, custom content is so important, but we have to understand that we can't do all custom content. It's just hard to do that sometimes. So it's good to have a mix of both. And Ashton's a member, so I'm not selling him on this. He's a current member, so I'm just saying, If it's about posting, just grab the content, make it look like you, and get it out there pretty quickly, right? We can't spend so much time on the important aspects of marketing that's not driving the leads. And social media is just one of those things. It's going to drive leads over time, but like, it's not going to be a massive lead generator, right? So don't spend a lot of time on social media. Have a service that posts custom content for you, right? Or post it yourself, but don't spend too much time on social. Building relationships in a local market is going to be way more valuable when it comes to growing your audience and growing your word of mouth and getting more leads. So I would say make sure you're doing 1 or 2 events a week, and it's okay if that cuts into your social media and blog time, I guess. But that stuff is important. So what do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, if you want an algorithm, then I would say you can bucket all of these efforts into short-term, medium-term, and long-term outcomes, right? Like social media or, writing blogs is a long-term play, right? You're not going to write a blog and post it, and then 5 minutes later, somebody calls and goes, I found you. Wow, finally, the blog of my dreams. Please shut up and take my money. It's a long-term play, but it also needs to be couched into the entire multi-channel or omni-channel like positioning. So I think ask yourself, what am I trying to achieve this year? What am I trying to achieve this quarter? And have a goal for yourself. And is that, for example, my goal for 2024 was like, I want to be everywhere people talk about MSP sales. I want to be like Beetlejuice, and I just show up there. That was my goal. Anywhere people are talking MSP sales, I'm there. So I did a bunch of podcast interviews. I did a whole bunch of stuff like that because I had a singular goal, and that goal helped me automatically grade the opportunities I had to invest my time. So like, is this time investment going to help me achieve my temporary goal? If not, then I has to make it on the cutting room floor. You can't just do whatever is in front of you as a salesperson. I have found that's a way to really burn out. But the other thing I'll add to this is that, there's 3 levers. I've heard it said this way from people like Robert Gillette has said a version of this, and John Davengay from Bowman Williams said a version of this. I went on a podcast interview I recently did with him of like, there's three things that you can do. Like, do it right, do it well, and do it over and over again. That's the entire formula. So do it right, meaning do the right thing. Now, we all know nothing won't work, but I take that motto 2 ways. If you do nothing, you're going to get no results. But if you do anything, if you do it well and over again, you will get results. So you pick the poison. Do you want to invest your time? Do you want to invest your money? Do you want to cold call, business visits, donut door knocking, chamber events, webinars, whatever? Pick one thing, do the hell out of it. Do it better than you did yesterday, and then do it over and over again. And that way you'll get incrementally better. You will get results. But it's when people say, I'm going to try, I tried cold calling for 6 months. It didn't work. 6 weeks. It didn't work. No, your cold calling didn't work. Cold calling works just fine for the people who do it well. So that's, I think my motto is like, figure out the right thing to do, which is just something that is proven. Do it better than you have before, and then do it over and over again, and you'll get results.
It's good.
Love it. Any last? I didn't really get any hardballs, but
that's good though. That's all really good answers. Really good.
One more thing I want to squeeze in.
It's helpful in the comments.
Yeah, good. One more thing I just want to squeeze in, and then we'll let everybody else who's in the green room back on the screen is, Zamir had this great point that like, look, you had mentioned to her like, oh wow, lead gen is expensive, but expensive is a relative word, right? $1,000 is a cheap car. It's an expensive t-shirt. But if I said, you give me $1,000 and I'll give you $20 a day for the next 50 years, that's not expensive. That's not an expensive deal for you. That's a cheap deal for you. You know what I mean? If you have the cash on hand. So like for us, we were spending 11 grand a month on cold callers, getting 4K a month in net new MRR sold gross, which means we're losing 8 grand a month cash, but we just sold 4K MRR. So if we did that for a year, we're down $100,000 and we've got 50K MRR.
Yep.
And so there's ways you can straddle. And then I had to lay off half of that team, even though we were crushing it, but I laid them all off because I didn't have any more money. So then I ended up down to my top 2 performers, and I was doing 25 to $3,000 a month, half the spend, and I found my equilibrium. But if you do it, that's the beautiful thing about MRR is that there's a snowball effect. Like you will be cash positive if you're consistent, and just do it right, do it well, do it over and over again. And then you can roll back in more cash spend as you go.
MRR is the most beautiful thing on the planet.
Yeah, right.
It's the most beautiful thing. I love it. It's like when I was thinking about starting a new business, I was like, what do I want to take? I want to take the best things about all tech. MRR. I love Danny's point here too. He said your social media is often an add-on to your advertising process. People will search for you once they get to know you. Your social media posts should be confirming your brand and moving a lead quicker. Move a lead forward with you quicker. That's exactly right. That's exactly how I've always thought about social media. It's like it is confirming who you are. It is confirming your authority. It is engaging an audience that you already know. I think some people, they have 300 people on their LinkedIn. They're like, if I post organic content, I'm going to get leads. It's like, not really, right? Social media is going to inform, educate, entertain those people that you've met in person, the people that you've got a cold call, had a meeting with, but never closed. And them going, you know what? I do like that person. I'm going to refer them. I am going to call them again, etc. So that's where a lot of our leads came from social media. It's like people that I've met with before or people I know. I'm educating what I do. I'm building my authority. They then refer me to somebody. A bad MSP would say, oh, it was a referral. That's not marketing. Somebody that doesn't understand marketing, that's not marketing. It's like, no, that's building your digital word of mouth by staying relevant with engaging content. So I just love Danny's point there. Beautiful.
Yeah, love it. We're getting quoted here. I just wanted to throw these guys back on screen. We have, I don't know if Zamir is still here. I tried to bring him on, but guys, we've been in the wings. This has been super valuable. 90 minutes of machine gun information.
Right.
To the audience.
And a lot of people hanging in the whole time. I mean,
we've had over 40 people, I think, on this stream the whole time. So thank you guys for sticking with us. If you have last things in the chat you want to get out while we're all still here, guys, put it in the chat right now. I'm just going to pass for any kind of closing, cumulative thoughts. Kevin, I'd love to start with you.
I guess to Tahir's point that he just made, I completely agree. I feel like I've always been more of a quality over quantity. I think there's so much noise. Like LinkedIn is, you have to think about it. Most of us have had LinkedIn for like 10 years at this point. It's this collection of all these random people, which are not necessarily relevant to the job that you do today. And so we care a lot sometimes about like the feedback, what we get from this random cohort of people. And it's really not how we should be thinking about it. It's create a message and distribute it to the audience that you want, right? And so that's really the way I go about it. And I think to kind of tie everything that everybody's been talking about together, I think the audience is the most important part. Like if you do all of these tactics and strategies, but you do this to this group and that to that group, you don't get further faster. The fastest point is in a straight line. And so you have to actually do these tactics and strategies, but you need to do them to the same audience so that you're getting further and further along each time and not just parsed out to these different groups that hopefully, that's how you get busy and really don't have any results from my experience.
Yep. Yeah. Love it. Brian, anything from you?
Yeah, what's really sticking out to me right now is that at the end of the day, it's you're trying to build a relationship with a person. And how does your content or what you're doing online or your marketing, all that, how does that contribute to generating a real conversation with a real person? And what outreach are you doing to actually generate that conversation? And make that personal connection, because that's what people are looking for, right? At the end of the day. And so that's what's really sticking out to me right now.
For sure. I love it. Zamir, any just real quick closing thoughts on any of this from you?
Yeah, I think, you want to be able to identify where you are in the, in the competitive spectrum. identify sort of what you can allocate in terms of budgets and acquisition costs, and then target those into some specific areas that give you a bit of omnipresence. Obviously, with limited budgets, one of the things that can be challenges is you want to do everything, but you can't. That is going to spread yourself too thin. So there are certain mixes of maybe 2 or 3 things that are probably best to do first. And they're some foundational things like some SEO and proofing, getting the credibility out so that whoever you do connect with through any channel, they're able to see, through your reviews, through your testimonials, case studies, and so on, that you're a credible player, and that then you can sort of compound on.
Love it. Guys, thank you so much for all of this. Taher, I'm gonna kick all of our presenters off screen again. Thank you guys for being here. Brian, we're gone. Kevin, we're gone. Zamir, we're gone. Taher, just any closing thoughts from you as we wrap this sucker up?
A couple things. One, Aaron mentioned, are the videos being worked on? Absolutely. They're almost done. We actually got them sent to us, but it was per session. So there was only like 4, it was all of the presentations, but they were kind of bulked together. And I'm like, hey, I did pay you guys 60 grand. I need it per presenter because I don't want to do a week of editing. So those are all back in editing. They should get back to me later this week or early next week. We're sending it out only to people that were there, right? We're not sending these presentations out to the masses, because then it's like, well, what's the point of being there, right? So this is only going to those people. Obviously, they're going to the presenters, and they're going to the people that bought a ticket to be there, who've already seen the presentation, right, or may have missed it.
Right.
So later, we might do something where we release them, but it's not going to be anytime soon, because again, there's got to be incentive for people to come next year. So those are coming. They should be released next week, which is going to be amazing. I'm super excited. I know they are going to be pretty polished, right? It's going to have the presentation, it's going to have the presenter. It's going to be really cool. So I'm excited about that. Super excited about that. I'm going to rewatch a lot of them. The other thing I would say, scalecon 25, we were going to do it in Dallas, which obviously we already have the branding and stuff for it. But then me and Nigel were on a call last week, and it was like, does Dallas excite you? And I was like, not really. He's like, yeah, me neither. So, I don't think we're going to do it in Dallas.
Wow.
We were going to do it in Dallas. And then I was like, you know what? No, we're spending all this time and effort. Let's do it in a place that's going to be fun and exciting and get people out there. And I just don't think Dallas is going to be it. Dallas might have been the easiest place to get, but at the end of the day, I still kind of want it to be a destination. So more to come there. Should be released in the next few weeks.
Rio de Janeiro, everybody. Fall of 2025.
Yes. Just bring a gun. No, I'm just kidding.
Amazing. Okay. So TBD on the location.
TBD on the dates and location, but we do already have 90 people paid and registered. So
nice.
Hopefully not too many people cancel when I say, hey, just kidding, change of plans. But I think we'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool, man. Not Dallas, Scott says. Not Dallas.
We're changing Dallas.
I mean,
we're not doing Vegas again, but we're changing Dallas.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, guys. Our sneak preview is that the information you had is now inaccurate. So you have less information about 2025 than you did when you got here.
Before you paid.
Before you paid. Anyway, Tar, thanks for letting us put this thing together. And thanks everybody who stuck on this 90-minute stream. I know this was a lot. And all the presenters, can we have a round of applause from your little thing?
There we go.
Everybody clap in your house by yourself for our people. Amazing job. You guys know where to reach these presenters. No pitches needed. This was hopefully super valuable for you guys. I know it was for Taher and I. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the stream, and we'll see you guys at the next thing.
All right.
Okay.
See you guys. Peace.